This morning, the Supreme Court recognized that the Constitution guarantees marriage equality. In doing so, they've reaffirmed that all Americans are entitled to the equal protection of the law. This ruling will strengthen all of our communities by offering to all loving same-sex couples the dignity of marriage across this great land.
President Obama talking about the Supreme Court and same-sex marriage. We're going to get to that momentarily, but news developing right now. According to reports, Richard Matt, one of the two escaped murderers from an upstate New York prison, has been shot, and officers are involved in the manhunt, are pursuing the second fugitive, David Sweat. There are conflicting reports coming from different wire services, different news agencies. One said that Richard Matt had been shot and killed, but we are unable to verify that. That is not coming out in all of the stories, but we are hearing that Matt has been shot. They are chasing David Sweat. They have been looking for them for nearly 3 weeks. It is near the New York-Canadian border, apparently, so we will keep you updated on this story before we finish here at 5 o'clock Eastern Time, and then, of course, the Steve Molesberg Show will follow it there as well. All right, let's go ahead and get on to the big news now. That is, of course, SCOTUS, same-sex marriage, now law of the land. Let's go ahead and welcome in our guest and get right to it. She is the person that we always turn to for absolute honesty every single moment of the day. The veteran broadcaster, reporter, founder of JaneUnchained.com, Jane Velez-Mitchell. And also, when it comes down to honesty on marketing, PR, and so much more, here's the guy who understands branding and image, Thom Mozloom. Here's my favorite pair to get together. Welcome to Friday, everybody. Let's go ahead and rock right to it. Jane, same-sex marriage is now the law of the land, but we have people saying they will continue to fight this. Republican presidential candidates saying that we will continue to fight this. Churches say we will continue to fight this. And Antonin Scalia says this is a threat to our American democracy. How do you answer him back?
Well, I wouldn't say all churches. You know, the Pope has tweeted things that have been interpreted as being very gay-friendly. I say this is a cause for celebration. Why? Because I'm gay. And let me tell you something, Ed. I tried to be heterosexual for a long time. I gave it the old college try, and I drank over it. But you know what I found out? It was like living in a vertical casket. And so when I sobered up 20 years ago, and I'm 20 years sober, thank God, it was immediately clear to me that I could not continue living a lie. And today, I celebrated on an Amtrak train going from New York to Washington when I heard the news, because it felt like every molecule in my being adjusted, and I don't have to look over my shoulder anymore and justify my life to anybody and explain my life. I'm just an American. I'm just a human being who wants to love who I love and want the same constitutional guarantees
I gotta
as any
get to
other
this, though, Jane. I understand,
citizen.
and you're right. Good that you're celebrating. But what about Antonin Scalia, who said this is a threat to American democracy?
What threat? I mean, 36 states already allow it. What's happened? Ooh, floor sales have skyrocketed. Oh, what happened when they got rid of Don't Ask, Don't Tell? Oh, there were predictions that, soldiers would be running out of the Pentagon and heading for the hills. Nothing happened. Zippo, there is no threat. Nobody cares except people who are homophobic. That's basically the argument of homophobes. It's going to be a catastrophe. What catastrophe? Nothing's happened.
All right, Thom, I'm going to throw it to you, because here we come now. From a branding and image standpoint, you have people like Jeb Bush basically saying it is now crucial as a country we protect religious freedom. You have other politicians coming out and saying that we will continue to fight against this right now, even though the majority of Americans in recent polls say they're okay with it.
Okay, so you have to break this down into two parts. Is it an important decision? Yes. For people like Jane, this is critically important, and it is a way that completes them that no other thing could. So it is an important piece of legislation. Is it a legislation that has wide impact? No. We live in a country where 3% of the population is gay. You're talking about 6 million people. Game of Thrones has more viewership. So the world is not coming to an end. Everything is fine. We're going to go on as planned. What are the ramifications of this? Well, if somebody brings up the law and says, well, now that we have this, we should have polygamy. Well, you're going to have problems. I don't think any of that's going to happen. I think those are all straw man arguments.
Okay, here's one I got to give you, though, Thom. 30 seconds,
I've
and I
lived
got to
with
give you this
1,000
right now. Franklin Graham, the president of Samaritan's Purse and the Billy Graham of Evangelist. I can't even get it up, but that's okay. All right.
Evangelicals.
Evangelistic Association. I'm so sorry. I was rushing over it. Franklin Graham tweeted this: with all due respect to SCOTUS, it did not define marriage and therefore cannot redefine it. 20 seconds, though, Tom. What about these folks who are going to continue to fight it?
Listen, Franklin Graham is 100% correct in his worldview. In his worldview, God defines what a marriage is. I'm my marriage. I don't care if the government says I'm married or not married or recognize it. I do care if God says I'm married or not married. And that's where it should stay. I don't know why the government is in the marriage business to start with.
Okay, Evangelistic
Hey,
Association.
you've gotta
I wanted to get
remind
that.
these
Hang on,
opponents
Jane. Hang
that
on.
they're
I'm all out of
confused.
time. I got to take a break and come back. Want to tell everybody we have confirmed Richard Matt, the New York prison escapee, has been shot and is dead. They are continuing the search for the second man. We're right back. Welcome back. Before we get back to our folks here, we want to just remind you once again of the developing news. One of the two prison escapees in upstate New York, Richard Matt, has been shot and killed by cops who are involved in a gunfight with him within the last hour, hour and a half, near Canada and the border of upstate New York. David Sweat, the second escaped convict, is apparently still on the loose. They are looking for him as well, but again, one of the convicts is dead. We'll continue to follow the story. Let's get back to work now. Veteran broadcaster, JaneUnchained.com is her site, Jane Velez-Mitchell, and the veteran marketing PR specialist, Thom Mozloom. We got a lot to cover here. Unfortunately, we just don't have a lot of time, so we're going to try and spit through things here very quickly. ISIS is back on the trail. Coordinated attacks. And you can almost sense that this is a day that they are going after everybody. It's mosques, it's vacation, wherever they can find them. Tom, if you go out right now, do you feel safe in this country right now? Do you feel safe from a terrorist threat?
Well, I don't feel safe generally with the last name Mozloom. Maybe you'd like to travel with me on a passport sometime. But look, these threats, this is par for the course. It's Ramadan. Ramadan is notorious for wars, violence, and crime. It is the Islamic version of giving a dreidel. Let's go throw grenades at each other. This happens every year, and I don't know why people aren't ready for it. It's a violent, violent thing, and I guess if you want to really put it in context, take the month of Ramadan and stay home. This is what happens.
It's not a bad deal internationally when you think about it. Jane, we have the 4th of July coming up right now. And again, it's one of those holidays that Americans are going to be everywhere. They're not going to be thinking about this. Do you feel safe?
Yeah, I don't think that these monsters should intimidate any of us. You know, we're dealing with really scary people because they have a medieval mindset with high-tech tools and this capacity to recruit that's been aided by the U.S. military, giving them, the U.S. media, giving them a lot of free publicity. But, you know, we have the largest military in the world, larger than the 9 other next runner-ups. And what we should be doing is using all of our resources to stop these people. ISIS is scary and they need to be stopped. And I don't understand why, with such a massive military that we have, such an incredible intelligence potential, this three-pronged attack was even allowed to occur. Where is our intelligence? The NSA is collecting all this data. We've got cells and military operatives all around the world. Why is it that these ISIS characters, these demons from like a bad movie, are able to pull this stuff off? I don't understand it. Why can't we preemptively knock them out before they do these things?
All right, good questions, of course. Go ahead, Tom, 15 seconds, and then I got to move on.
People like Jane are against waterboarding and killing innocent people and all of the things that are necessary to wipe out entire groups of people like ISIS.
Look out, Jane. 15
did not
seconds,
get
go.
us good intelligence. They've acknowledged that. It was a lose-lose.
Okay, you guys have just opened up a whole new can that we got to go ahead and talk about here, because Jane, I tell you, he makes a good point. However, I got to get to this one today because this one is just too good. I only got 2 minutes left. Donald Trump. Okay, let's just start right there. Jane, to you first. The president of programming for Univision puts out on his Instagram account a picture that shows Donald Trump and equates him with Dylan Roof, the killer of 9 people at a South Carolina church. It didn't last long. He took it down. Personally, and I have tweeted this myself, I think he should be fired immediately. This is not about Trump. This is
You know who should
this
be
is
fired? Donald
incendiary.
Trump. Okay,
No. This is not about Trump, though, Jane. This is about somebody who puts Donald Trump on the same
Let's go to talk about what Donald Trump said.
No.
Insulting an entire country.
No.
Calling
Jane,
an
we
entire
can't talk
country
about that
filled
now.
with millions of people rapists and murderers. I mean, the
He
guy
didn't
is
call
off
them murderers,
his rocker.
Jane. He
this
didn't
is
say
30
murderers.
seconds into his presidential bid.
Hang on a sec, Jane.
Seriously.
Jane, really? But
You know, but he
shouldn't
has
the
a great
guy be
comb
fired
over.
who
I'll
put this
say that.
Instagram out? Come on, shouldn't they fire this guy? This is ridiculous. Come on.
I'm telling
Yes,
you, I think
they
we should
should
go
fire
back to
him.
what
Yes.
Donald Trump said and how he insulted an entire nation. How dare he?
Okay.
Imagine if he had said that about Italian Americans or any other group. I mean, what about your ethnicity? If he had called your ethnicity into murders and rapists, how would you feel
He
about
didn't call
that,
them
Ed?
murderers. He mentioned rape. Okay, we have to. That's another issue indeed. But I'm talking about what somebody did in putting him with a mass killer. Tom, to you.
Listen, it's ridiculous what Univision did. That post should have been taken down, and the president needs to get fired.
Well, again,
Everybody
Univision
has
didn't do it.
the
It
right
was
of freedom
his
of speech.
individual.
I'm allowed to say things that offend you. You're not allowed to come back and blow me up because of it. That is no better than what ISIS is doing, and that's wrong. And we need to say it's wrong.
And we didn't even get to the point that Donald Trump basically wrote a letter to the head of Univision telling him that you're no longer allowed to use Trump National Doral in Miami or the golf courses or any of the facilities. Donald Trump is a guy who just goes ahead and he continues to be a show on his own. Jane, I promise you we'll get to that, but we're all out of time. I wanted to make sure that we got to that specific issue. See, Jane always ends with a smile because she knows she's going to come back anyway. Jane Velez-Mitchell, Thom Mozloom, always a pleasure to have you both on the show. Take care. We'll see you again. Have a great weekend. The political punching bag is next. Stick around on MidPoint.